Ranger the dog, which hopefully, I don't know if that's my brother Joe or if that's somebody else, asks, what are the biggest risks Bitcoin faces? I think that Bitcoin is in a very unique position in that the biggest risk is actually a internal risk, meaning that I don't worry about geopolitical risk. I don't worry about an external hack of Bitcoin or anything like that. I think probably the biggest risk, and I'll caveat this with saying like it is essentially a 0% risk, nothing 0% risk, but it's a very, very, very low probability, is some sort of self-induced wound. Bitcoin is software. That software still has people maintaining it. It still gets updated. And the development process is very much methodical. It's intentional. It's somewhat slow in order to ensure that there's nothing that ends up getting broken. There's $800 billion or so of economic value at stake here, and we're trying to build a system that's going to last for centuries. And so there's no rush. But just making sure that there's no bug or anything like that introduced, I think is important, obviously, as do the developers. So to me, like it's more of like the ball's in our court, and we're likely to make the biggest mistakes. Another, I don't want to say is a risk, but it's something to pay attention to, is definitely this ESG narrative. You see these politicians running around. You score political points for talking about it, but when these academic theories meet reality, reality wins. And so take New York. New York recently discussed this idea of a moratorium on new miners that aren't 100% renewable. And the politician who put it forward said, oh, everyone's taking this out of context. It's not going to have a bad impact. Don't worry. Everyone's freaking out, blah, 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 whatever. And I believe it's a woman who said, we're not going to lose economic value because of this. It's not going to hurt our economy. But at the same time she's saying all this, 50% of the miners in New York have left over the last year. So it's an academic theory. Oh, this doesn't have a big issue. We shouldn't worry about it. It's not a problem. Don't worry. It's not going to hurt our economy. At the same time, 50% of the miners left. So reality meets academic theory, reality wins. And I think that's an important piece of it, is like this ESG narrative. It's just a pain in the ass because we got to deal with it. We got to answer it. We got to talk about it. But what ends up happening is that ESG is a complete scam. The whole thing is just full of nonsense. And so naturally, I think reality will win out, but the academic theory is something that has to be addressed. And then the other thing is, I still think that taxation in the United States, if you really think about, especially in the United States, if I go to dinner tonight and I buy dinner with dollars, I pay for the price of the meal, I tip the waiter or waitress, and I pay sales tax, and I walk out of the restaurant. If I buy it in Bitcoin, I end up paying for the price of the meal, I tip the waiter or waitress, I pay sales tax, and then I pay capital gains on the Bitcoin. And so naturally, there's a fairly abrasive tax treatment because it's treated as property. And so I think that that's going to have to get solved over time. So it's not a risk. It's just something that needs to be addressed, if you will.